Yellowstone National Park ready to unveil its plan for reopening. Coming up, find out when that will happen and what the park is saying so far.
A political group met with some Deer Lodge business owners to criticize the governor's response to the COVID-19 crisis.
We are just ahead of 6:30 back here on Montana this morning. It's Wednesday. Caitlin Corbett, Chet Lehman, and Matt Elwell. We can see right now it's a little bit overcast and some fog moving in.
There are areas where we're seeing some more dense fog. Most of that is in some low-lying areas along some of the riverbeds, but areas that have picked up some rain showers over the course of the last few days, seeing more of that fog for the early part of the morning. Our temperatures this morning not bad, into the 30s and 40s for most of us. Our showers likely to pick up into the afternoon. Right now things are pretty quiet. Wind speeds will be in that 10 to 20 mile an hour range, but it's the afternoon that brings us the shower activity. Our daytime highs should be into the mid and upper 50s, but again, afternoon and evening showers moving in. We're going to break it all down for you, of course, coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:30 now. Our top story: a woman who entered Yellowstone National Park illegally yesterday morning was badly burned after falling into a thermal feature near Old Faithful.
Park officials say the woman was backing up to take a photo and fell into the thermal feature, but spokeswoman Linda Varese says it's unclear exactly which hot spring or other feature she may have stumbled into. The woman then left Old Faithful and drove north toward Mammoth. She was stopped by park rangers about a mile south of Mammoth Hot Springs. Varese says that due to her injuries, the woman was taken to the Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center by helicopter. The incident is still under investigation. Yellowstone, of course, has been closed to visitors since March 30th due to the coronavirus pandemic. And also in Yellowstone news, the National Park Superintendent Cam Shawley plans to hold a telephone conference call this morning at 11 to talk about a plan for reopening the park. Shawley has been holding a series of meetings and calls with civic and business leaders from communities around the park for the past several weeks. He said that when the park does finally reopen, it will be a staged affair, with services and facilities gradually opening as staffing and safety allows. Xanterra, which runs several campgrounds and hotels in the park, says it will not open any Yellowstone hotels this summer, but will open cabins beginning June 15th. MTN will be on the call with Shawley today, and we'll have a full report online and tonight at 5:30 and 10.
And on the other side of the state and the divide, Glacier National Park remains without a timeline for reopening. A representative from the park tells MTN that they have not been given any tentative dates for letting people back into the park. A spokesperson for the National Park Service says it will post updates about the facilities and operations on the park website and social media when a decision is actually made. People should be prepared to only be able to park in designated areas and only have access to marked trails. There's also the possibility the restrooms and other facilities will have limited or no access when the park first reopens. National Park Service says it plans to ask people to maintain social distance of 6 feet from each other when the park does reopen.
Still hobbled by pandemic-related travel restrictions, the state of Montana is taking an entirely different track in tourism marketing this spring. MTN's Dennis Bragg reports the approach is aimed at telling out-of-state visitors to just be patient.
Normally at this point of the year, Montana's tourism marketing is in high gear, targeting national and international travelers to come to Big Sky Country to savor their Montana moment. But with the pandemic's impact continuing to slam the tourism industry, the Department of Commerce is running a new campaign, telling travelers Montana is worth the wait.
The main message is that a trip to Montana is worth the wait. So Visit Montana has released a new video aiming to inspire travelers and remind them that Montana is an amazing destination to visit. But now is not the right time to travel, and Montana's worth the wait.
On first pass, that might seem counterintuitive, telling people to not come to Montana. But there's a strategy behind the unusual message. The state says it needs to send the signal that the coronavirus has meant Montana is being as cautious as everywhere else in the U.S. and that out-of-state travel is still being discouraged. But just as importantly, Saunders says the spot will help keep Montana on people's minds for a trip when conditions do open up.
We want visitors to keep Montana top of mind. So when the time is right to travel, they're thinking of Montana. They see Montana as an amazing destination to visit. And really, there's no better way to inspire visitors and get them thinking of Montana than showing a 60-second video showing off all that Montana has to offer.
The video has been online for a couple of weeks, being shared with all the people who had contacted the state for travel information, and has replaced the video advertising that had already been placed for this season.
It'll also be shared with travel trade partners that we have in Europe, Australia, and Japan.
The video is running adjacent to other videos posted by the state's regional travel groups, all carrying the same message of patience with eventual payoff for Montana travel. Dennis Bragg, MTN News.
And the Worth of the Wait video will continue to be used until Governor Bullock lifts the restriction requiring out-of-state travelers to quarantine for 14 days.
Closer to home now, a group of people met yesterday in Deer Lodge criticizing the governor's policy in dealing with the coronavirus in the state. MTN's John Amy was there and has this report.
Some people are taking aim at coronavirus policies they claim have gone too far, even to the point of violating constitutional rights.
These are God-given rights. We don't look to the government to give us those rights, so we're going to protect them.
Members of Start Montana, which refers to itself as a grassroots group that is critical of Governor Steve Bullock's coronavirus policy, stopped in Deer Lodge to hear concerns from some local business owners. Though Start claims to be nonpartisan, it does have support from state Republicans.
The voices of the people who operate businesses in Montana were not being heard, period. The governor was tone deaf to that.
Some Deer Lodge business owners are worried about the small town's economic future.
I mean, we've already seen 3, 4, 5 businesses in town not able to open back up. It's just going to continue.
Start Montana argues the governor overreacted to the coronavirus threat and has hurt the state's economy for a long time to come.
Why are we living in fear? Fear doesn't prevent you from dying. Fear prevents you from living, and that's what's happening to a lot of businesses here. And people are going to lose their businesses as a result of the decisions that were made.
And some people involved in this grassroots movement feel like they have the right to even defy the governor's executive order through civil disobedience.
Civil obedience does not mean any kind of violence whatsoever. It just means that at this point, we need to let people know that we're going to open up Main Street, we're going to open up our businesses right here in Deer Lodge.
In Deer Lodge, John Amy, MTN News.
In response, the governor's office says Steve Bullock's actions were based on science and data, and his early efforts helped Montana maintain the lowest rate of cases per capita in the nation. Also this morning, the Montana Department of Labor and Industry reports paying out almost $60 million in unemployment claims in the first week of May. In total, more than 55,000 payments were made. These figures do not represent the number of people who receive payment. According to the department, individual claimants could have 2 payments in that total, or 1 payment representing 2 weeks worth of benefits. Since the first COVID-19 cases in March, Montana has recorded nearly 87,000 new unemployment claims. However, the state has seen fewer than 1,000 new claims in each day in May. That's well below the state saw during the middle of the shutdown.
And we are now at 460 confirmed cases of coronavirus in Montana. We reported the new case in Bighorn County to you on Monday, and now there's one new one in Cascade County. The county health department reported the one in Bighorn County ahead of the state's once-a-day reporting. Total tests completed so far are more than 23,000. Also, the Gallatin City County Health Department has received almost $80,000 grant from the Big Sky Relief Fund to help fund COVID-19 wastewater surveillance in Big Sky.
6:38 now. Airlines are continuing to update their safety protocols as more people start to get on planes.
And Southwest, American, United, Delta, JetBlue, and Frontier all require passengers to now wear a face covering. Another change is temperature checks. Frontier is the first airline to say it will do its own temperature scans starting June 1st. Many airlines are also urging TSA to include this in the screening process. Meanwhile, the nation's largest pilot union is pushing Congress to make CDC safety recommendations mandatory for the FAA.
Right now it's recommended. So what you're going to see as a result of that, and what we've seen, is a varying patchwork of levels of compliance. So you might have some airlines doing masks, other ones doing gloves, and some doing disinfecting after every flight, some not.
Falling from the base of these clouds. Temperature right now sitting at 40 degrees at Bozeman Yellowstone International. Feels like it's 35 with about a 7 to 10 mile an hour wind. Our Butte ICAM pretty quiet for the start of the day. 42 our current temperature, 6 mile an hour wind, leaving that wind chill at 38. Our out the door cast, I do expect to see some scattered showers starting around the noon hour and lingering into the afternoon and evening. But most of that should be on the lighter side. We're just seeing some scattered showers across the area. Most of our area temperatures across the state into the upper 30s to low 40s. Very mild morning compared to what we've had the last few days. And the wind speeds aren't bad. We're mainly dealing with light winds for the morning. The afternoon wind speeds likely to be in that 10 to 20 mile an hour range as you head through the afternoon. Here's a look at how things are stacking up. That moisture is continuing to flow in from the west coast, and what it means for us locally is we've got the moisture in the middle part of the atmosphere, the area that when we see the lift, those showers develop. That'll be in the warmest part of the day in through the afternoon and early evening. The showers will taper off as you get past midnight tonight, and by early tomorrow morning expect a crisp and clear sky. We still may have some fog in parts of the area, much like what we're dealing with for the early morning. And in the afternoon on Thursday, we'll see showers develop into western Montana, pushing back into south central and southwestern Montana. Mainly docking temperatures into the 50s for daytime highs, 30s for the evening lows. I'm jumping to the extended forecast just so you can see the temperatures take a nosedive on Friday, but come back so quickly on Saturday. Lots of sunshine, warmer temperatures on Sunday. Right now, I think our rain chances are pretty limited for the weekend, but early next week, more showers on the way. We're going to break down your hour-by-hour forecast coming up in just under 10 minutes.
All right, thank you very much. 6:46 now on this Wednesday. The White House and the CDC seem to have different ideas on how the country should be reopened.
Last week, the Associated Press released step-by-step guidelines from the CDC that an official said was kept from the public by the White House. Although the Trump administration's plan does follow some advice outlined by the CDC, a key difference is the approach. The CDC's plan advocates for a coordinated national response with the idea that the virus will resurge. Meanwhile, the White House leaves decisions to state leaders. The director of the CDC says a revised version of the organization's plan will be made public soon.
Also, food safety advocates warn that disruptions to the inspection system could be putting more Americans at risk. The information comes from a report by USA Today. Now, in March, the FDA said it was postponing in-person inspections at food factories and farms. Citations for unsafe conditions dropped from hundreds a month to nearly zero in April. As for recalls, companies normally report them to the FDA on their own. Those have plummeted to the lowest numbers in at least a decade. Now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture says it is meeting obligations and pushing the food industry for more accountability in safety.
Twitter is launching a new initiative to stop misinformation about coronavirus. It will start telling users when a tweet makes a disputed or misleading claim. It will appear as a label, and then some will include links to additional information about COVID-19. Twitter will only delete the post if it's harmful. The head of Twitter's site integrity says the company likely won't be able to catch every tweet that violates the new policy, so you should still fact-check information that you see.
Other business news, Uber is considering a deal that would give its control over to the majority of the food deliveries in the U.S. Rideshare company is looking to join forces with Grubhub. Combined, Uber Eats and Grubhub would account for 55% of the food delivery market. Each company's main competitor, DoorDash, controls around 35% of the market. Uber and Grubhub are still discussing the deal, but the decision is expected soon.
And law enforcement around the country won't have to travel to D.C. to recognize National Police Week. A virtual vigil will be held in honor of police officers tonight. That vigil can be viewed on the social media pages for the National Law Enforcement Officer Memorial Fund. The nonprofit says the names of 307 officers killed in the line of duty will be added to the National Memorial in D.C. as a part of tonight's service. The coronavirus has Broadway shows on hold until at least early September. The Broadway League is offering exchanges and refunds for purchases made through September 6th. Those who bought tickets will be sent an email with information on how to get their money back. Touring performances are also being affected by the pandemic.
So I would imagine that'll affect the Broadway and Bozeman and performances that we see at times as
crazy.
well, too. So we'll see how that goes.
Empty Broadway theaters, empty theaters across the country.
Crazy stuff.
So bizarre.
We'll see what happens in September. Maybe
Yes,
a
we
change.
will.
6:49, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, Matt's going to take a look at our hump day forecast.